Welcome to the Cemetery Gates podcast, featuring Xander Kane and Android Virus. Hey, welcome back to the Cemetery Gates podcast. I am Mr. Android Virus, joined by my illustrious co-host, Mr. Xander Kane.
Hey, it's me.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man.
How's the weather treating you?
Awful. It's fucking the pollening down here. So, you open the window and walk outside. You're like, hey, it looks hazy. It's not hazy. It's just fucking yellow pollen everywhere.
How's the allergies? How is it?
Normally, my allergies aren't too bad, but yesterday was like the largest record-breaking pollen day in the entire world, and it was fucking awful. So
My allergies are bad.
So normally I get like a little bit of allergies, like not too crazy, but like fucking this year's been pretty brutal. So
What do you have? Juniper? Ash?
fucking everything. The biggest one is pine.
Hmm.
We have pine trees all over. So
I'm good with pine. It's the juniper.
yeah, we have all sorts of other stuff, but like the pine's the biggest contributor. So
I think it's the dirt here. All I have to do is go into the backyard and where I have no trees and no plants and pick up some dog shit and I'm sneezing. So something in the dirt, I don't know what it is, bro. Something.
just be dust.
I don't know, but it kills me, dude. It's been miserable. So, yeah. Welcome to Cemetery Gates podcast where we're talking about allergens.
Yeah.
you
Tune in
learn
next
something
week
new
when we
on this
talk
show.
about arthritis.
So
Gout.
In gout. Do you have gout?
No, I don't have gout.
Oh, that's good. I don't either. I don't eat enough shitty foods to give me gout, I think. Or, I don't know. Isn't it,
It's
Hereditary?
sulfuric acid. It can be genetic, yeah, but it's like your body not processing. I think is it sulfuric acid properly, or one of those acids properly.
wow.
Yeah,
So it ends up in your big toe?
it just builds up kind of wherever you're having it build up.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never had it, which is a good thing. I have a buildup of angst and anger, but other than that, I'm good.
That can also be hereditary,
Yes, and poisonous.
toxic, all the above.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, welcome to the show, guys. It's been a while since we recorded. I know that you. Where did you go? You went to a convention, right?
I was out of town for a couple of weeks, like back-to-back weeks. So, and then my brother came in town for a weekend. So,
Oh, how nice was that?
well, I didn't know if he was going to be here. He's like, "Hey, I'm at Georgia Tech. How far is your place?" And I was like, 2 miles. So he came over. My brother used to coach my nephew in swimming, and one of the kids that they coached wound up swimming for the University of Florida, and they had national championships at Georgia Tech. So my brother came up to watch him swim, and it also
Really?
was like my sister-in-law's spring break because she's a teacher. So they took that time and they stopped by here before they went to the beach.
And isn't your significant other one as well?
No, not anymore.
Oh, didn't know.
Left that shit.
Really?
Yeah, she works for a university. She's a technical trainer for the university.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm done. You guys just fucking switched it up, didn't you?
Yeah.
There you have it. Well, yeah, man. So we're going to review a couple of really cool movies tonight, I hope. Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe one, maybe not one.
Maybe
maybe
not
not two.
both. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
What have we been watching? Shit. I watched the latest Guillermo del Toro joint, and I wanted to talk to you about that.
Which was a long one, but I still haven't made time for that yet. So
Yes. Beautifully shot, beautifully acted, very unique story. I feel like Guillermo del Toro is definitely a niche. You either like him or you don't. Um, he always has some type of lesson to be learned, in his movies. There's always some type of. I mean, even with was the first one that we watched, his very, very first one, the vampire one, kind of vampire one.
Kronos.
Kronos, yeah. There's always like some lesson to be learned in his films, and same with this one. There's always like some kind of a moral story that happens. But goddamn, he's such a fucking awesome director. Goddamn, the guy can fucking do set fucking design. Whoever, if he's doing it himself or having somebody doing it for him, he's just a.
Did in this particular one, did he pick like a color palette that he stuck with? Because like in Crimson Peak, he stayed with red, and then in Shape of Water, he stayed with like greens and blues.
Yeah,
he doesn't always do it, but like you could.
Yeah,
like, sometimes he really like hones in on that on his sets, like very like tries to keep it the colors very tonal and together.
I think with the how could I explain it? I think because the movie spans over like maybe a decade.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that was over.
Yeah, maybe a decade, maybe a little bit less, but it definitely spans over a little bit of time. Not like it doesn't jump forward too far. And I feel like each and it jumps from like location to location. It's not like in what set location. So each location has its own tone.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
Hyper violent when it needs to be. Bradley Cooper nails it, which is good. And they all nail it. It's a fucking good movie, man.
Yeah, it's on the list because it's one I think my wife would enjoy. So
yeah,
that's why I like kind of put it off.
Watch that. What else did we check out? The Batman. I don't know if you watched that yet.
I have not.
Yeah. You're like, I have not seen nothing.
You watching all these epically long movies.
I know. The Batman. What can I say? It's probably the darkest one yet. And how can it get much darker? I think I saw a funny meme of like the palettes of the Batman, and it's like Batman 2025, and you can barely see the picture. It's like super dark, but it's very Fincher-esque. It's done by Matt Reeves, who did the Planet of the Apes movies, the most recent ones. So I quite enjoyed it. I'm not going to give a lot away. Obviously, you can watch for the commercials. You know the Riddler's in it and Catwoman, but if you're into the comic books, like if it shows you more of the detective stuff of Batman, he's got some pretty okay gadgets in it and some pretty cool fight scenes. But all in all, it's a detective movie, and it's a mystery film, and it's a murder mystery film with Batman. So long as fuck. Very not convoluted. I think convoluted is the bad word, but very involved story. So I fucking love the shit out of it. A lot of people did. Some people did. Some people didn't. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I love the shit out of it. So check it out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. What about you, man?
Dude, I've actually watched a ton of shit.
What pops up? What pops out?
I watched the Darkman series 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, nice.
Love the first one. 2 and 3 are kind of on the same level of entertaining. They're not as nearly as good as the first one, but they're entertaining enough. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They have their moments. Watched a weird flick called The Cold Light of Day. Mm-hmm. It's about a killer I guess the killer was in the late 70s, early 80s in London. I don't think I talked about this last show. I'm trying to see. But anyways, the dude used to bring people home and like kill them. And then he would freak out on what to do with the bodies. So he started like chopping up the bodies and like boiling them in pots to like shrink down the flesh.
Oh, wow.
And then flush them in his toilet. And the way he gets caught is that it backs up the toilets in his building.
Oh, nice. Where have I heard that story before?
Yeah. But it was a weird, this dude on the lead that plays the lead does a really good job of like kind of, he gives off very like Joe Spinell vibes. Like he's just kind of kind of sweaty. His hair is always greasy. He's always kind of nervous. He's always kind of, he's kind of always tense in his shoulders. He puts on a hell of a performance and just like absolutely crushes his character. The movie's good. It's nothing amazing, but his performance really stood out in it. So it was just a weird little flick based off a true story, apparently. So
he's a greasy man.
Yeah. Then of course I went and saw X, which was phenomenal.
Yes, I just didn't see it, bro.
No worries. I didn't see Batman. I guess we're even. X is fantastic. Go fucking see it. There's no reason not to. It to me, it balances the line, I'm sure, of sexploitation and horror film slasher flicks together. It's a great genre bender. Music is great. Casting is great. Characters are great. Shots are great. Kudos Ty West. That's all I'll say about that. And then I also watched Snatchers, which was fun as shit. So Snatchers is about a girl that gets pregnant, has sex with her boyfriend who just got back from Mexico, and then like the next day she wakes up and she's full-blown 9 months pregnant and gives birth to an alien. And like when she goes to the doctor, she's got her legs wide open and she gives birth and the fucking little alien thing comes out and takes off the doctor's head and blood, arterial spray everywhere. It's silly, gory, and funny as shit. There's a lot of really great one-liners, fast-paced, a great horror comedy, highly recommended. Snatchers from 2019. It was just silly, stupid fun, man. Highly recommended. And then the last thing I will mention is, where'd it go? Oh, and I finished up Insidious, the series.
Oh.
I finally watched the last one, which is The Last Key.
Okay.
And I actually liked it. I like most of those movies, man. I really do.
Oh.
I really do. So I think my least favorite is probably the second one.
I saw the first Insidious.
Yeah, the first one I liked, the third one I liked, the Last Key I liked, and I don't remember as much of the second one. That's why I say it's my least favorite, because I can't really remember shit about what happened in the second one, so that doesn't bode well. But yeah, I'm surprised that I like them. I didn't think I would like them all, but I do find pretty decent enjoyment out of all of them, so. That's pretty much that. Only thing else is I did revisit Laid to Rest, and didn't hold up as well as I thought it was going to. But, since Robert Hall passed away.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I don't know, like Laid to Rest.
The violence is fucking great. The CGI violence is great. But man, everything else is stupid. Not stupid. Characters are not entertaining. Like even Lena Headey's in it and she's awful.
Yeah.
In it. And I think that has more so to do with the writing than maybe the actors, but it definitely feels like a Robert Hall movie, because I've watched his Lightning Bug, which is like his little drama that he made. They both have similar vibes, and honestly, like there's enough there. I wish we would have gotten more films from him, because I feel like he's got enough skill level, and when he made Laid to Rest and all the things that we see, I feel like he was honing his craft still when it comes to like writing screenplays and directing. Like he was trying to get all that together, and I wish we could have seen it come to full fruition, but like he has passed away, so we won't get to see his full potential. But man, I greatly appreciate his special effects, and to me, he is a master of blending. He was the first guy that was able to blend CGI and practical effects together, and you not be like, that looks like dog shit.
Yeah,
like he masterfully did that. He was the guy, in my opinion, that started that. So.
Yeah, I think Laid to Rest for me and the sequel, and there's another handful of movies out there that came out around the same time. I know, like The Hills Run Red.
Hills Run Red, yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. Was really for me before VOD hit it pretty big. VOD's always been a thing, but now it's just with everything streaming, so many streaming services. So I want to say a good 12 years ago, 13 years ago, it was a total nostalgia thing, but we used to have a store here called Hastings.
Yeah.
And, and Hastings was cool. They sold everything, they sold everything from toys, comic books, records, CDs, but they had a whole rental section too. You could rent DVDs. And I do remember renting movies. I mean, this was 12 years ago, like I said, 12, 13 years ago. And be like, oh, these are my movies for the weekend. And I wasn't really buying a lot of physical media, but I remember renting that shit.
Yeah.
And then, like, this is what I'm doing this weekend. I'm folding clothes and, you know, because at that time I had a little girl and I had toddler sons.
Oh,
So
Santana.
Yeah, so it was
Little
like,
baby Santana.
yeah, my daughter was like maybe 9 and my boys were maybe 4. So it was like, I was just dad duty, man. Just folding clothes. All right, cleaning, folding clothes, and well, putting a horror movie on. You know, like, this is what we do. And, yeah, so I think Laid to Rest and those types of movies kind of do hold a special place in my heart because that was like the last bastion of actually going somewhere and renting movies. Right?
Yeah, it was kind of the era of like the Dimension Extreme horror films, right? 8 Films to Die For, Dimension Extreme, all those things were like the last big horror. Those are the ones you kind of waited for to come out.
Right. 8 Films to Die For. Right.
Yeah.
So, not bad, man. Well, I give kudos to you, man. I'd like to we should revisit some shit from the 2000s era.
Yeah, there's definitely one I really want to rewatch called Storm Warning. That was an old Dimension Extreme flick that I remember that had some pretty gnarly scenes in it. I would totally revisit that.
Do you remember Frontiers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so good, man.
I like it until the very end. I hate how it turns into like a fucking heist shoot 'em up at the end.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, I'm getting my Horror Hound magazine next weekend, I hope. Soon.
Nice. Oh, speaking of Horror Hound, did you know that the new Jeepers Creepers movie is like the plot of it is at a Horror Hound like convention?
No.
Yeah, it like starts at a Horror Hound convention or some shit.
So did they wrestle the rights away from?
Yes. So Victor Salva has nothing to do with it and will have no financial. He will receive no financial benefits from the film's success. So he gets nothing of it now. It's all free and clear of being attached to Victor Salva. So,
should I bite my tongue? Yes.
I don't care.
Fuck that guy. So, anyways, I didn't even know like you know the internet ruined everything for everybody, right? Like the celebrities are exposed, all secrets are out. You know, I mean. The day of the celebrity is over of them being mysterious idols and really cool people. You know, they gone are the days of the facade of doing scripted interviews to sound like you're cooler than what you really are. And then I found out about Victor Salva and I'm just like, oh God. And then I watched Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. I'm like, oh, I get it now. So Google it if you guys don't. We're not going to give him any energy, but Google it if you care to, if you dare to. So let's get on to our films now. Did you review yours first last time, or did I? I forget.
I think we did yours last time. Doesn't really matter though.
Let's do yours this time.
Boom! Hey, you got my intro ready?
I do. Oh, it's ready. Hold on. Cue it. 1, 2, 3, and go.
It's time once again for everyone's favorite segment. Did Xander pick a horror movie or a porno?
Yeah, there you have it. There's your intro. And we're going to find out if it was, in fact, if you picked a porno.
You know, to be fair, at the beginning of this one, the very first thing you see when it comes to screen is the classic, this film has been passed X by the British Board of Film Censors.
Yeah.
So I sent you a text. I was like, well, I guess I could have done it officially now.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of, as I put it to Mona and my wife, there's a lot of well-fed women in this movie. Healthy, well-fed women in this movie. Yeah.
They'd all be great mothers.
Yes. Let's go ahead and listen to the trailer for the Flesh and Blood show. We'll be right back.
Cause of death, head and abdominal wounds. Sharp instrument. Secondary cause, drowning.
Yes. You're wasting time.
Well, I should keep something on.
And you're overdressed. That's better.
Who is it? Did you see that? Oh, my God! John!
What the hell are you doing up there, Sarah? Look, switch that bloody thing off. Nobody said anything about a front of house spot.
Hey, Duchess, you're supposed to dress for the theater.
Hey, let go of me. I can't do anything if you just like...
All right, you just listened to the trailer for the Flesh and Blood show. An appalling amalgam of carnage and carnality. Let her rip, sir.
Yeah, so Flesh and Blood show is directed by the one and only Pete Walker, who I enjoy many of Pete Walker's films. He's done great flicks such as Frightmare, House of Whipcord, Die Screaming Marianne, Schizo, The Comeback, all kinds of shit in the 70s. And he was kind of regarded as kind of edgy director and like, I don't know, almost like, because no one was really making films like he was. You know, he has a lot of nudity. Some of them have a lot of nudity. Some of them have a lot of gore. And like when you watch a Pete Walker film after you've watched a couple, you start recognizing his style like very specifically. Like he tends to shoot things a very specific way. He tends to have his dialogue runs a very specific way. You know how you could tell like dialogue wise if it's like a Tarantino flick, you know?
Sure.
Like there's certain things that you can pick up on the more you watch his stuff. So, and honestly, I don't think enough people talk about him. And I think some of his stuff is really great, and some of it's okay. But I can almost all of it to me is worth talking about and checking out. So, and I hadn't seen the Flesh and Blood show, so I was like, fuck it, let's do the Flesh and Blood show. So the premise of this is there's a bunch of actors that are going to be like rehearsing for a theater show together, and it's like, and they're trying to revive like an abandoned theater, right? So that's kind of the basic plot. But the movie starts off and you just have like these two girls that are lying naked in bed for whatever reasons, and somebody prank calls them. And they're like, oh, fucking go get the door. And the other girl gets up and just starts walking naked to the door. She's like, aren't you going to put anything on? She's like, no. And then some dude bursts in, got a knife stuck in him. And like, they're all panicking, freaking out. But turns out he was just fucking with them.
Yeah, he walked in with a fucking knife in his fucking chest.
Yeah, with like fake blood, the whole nine. They're all like freaking out. He's like, call for help. And they're like, she's just standing there naked. Like, it's so weird. But
she's
it
like,
turns out,
what? And she's like butt ass naked too.
yeah, walks from the camera follows her walking from the bedroom all the way to the front door. So total Pete Walker move there. But this guy's actually talking. So it turns out they're actresses, and they wind up getting a line on this gig to like reboot this old abandoned theater, which is an awesome theater. Like it's like on a pier, which is just like super badass.
It is. It's really cool. It actually reminds me of something out of like, I don't know, like somewhere you would see like I everybody's I'm a huge nerd for paranormal shows, so it's like a place like where paranormal hunters would go for sure, like in real life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And so then we followed this particular group of characters to the theater, and the first shot you get of the theater is actually pretty cool. As the opening credits roll, you just see the pier, and you hear like the water crashing, and then you hear like somebody screaming like later and later through the credits, and there's like a little bit of blood that drips down like the post or the pillar coming down into the water, which I thought was a cool scene.
Yeah.
But they meet up with the rest of the crew, and they meet up with the director, and another gratuitous shot of nudity is the whole group gets to this theater, and there's two people in the pews. One of them has a fake knife in the chest, and the other girl is laying there topless. And so they go to check that out. And of course, they were just taking a nap. They're the other actors. Like the girl gets up and she's like, "Oh, would you look at me?" She puts her top back on. Like she's laying sideways in the seats, just topless. It's like they both got like extremely stoned and passed the fuck out in the theater seats. Then shortly after that, people eventually start dying. There's not really a whole lot of blood when people start dying, and the kills aren't really all that spectacular. Like one girl kind of gets, after they film one night, after they practice one day, which is totally weird. It's an improvised play, right? So
yeah, there's no, they're like, hey, we're just riffing on this one. Like,
right. So like they get on stage and they're wearing like this stupid, I don't know, looks like cave woman and caveman clothes, and they're just like dancing around, and I don't know. It's weird. And then they all decide to fucking sleep there. They just like basically, hey, you guys can just sleep here at the abandoned theater with, no showers, no food, no nothing. It's just so odd. They're just up on the stage. They find their little nooks and they go to sleep. And there's like an inn nearby that they go to for breakfast, and they meet this kind of old man who's in there having coffee, and he's kind of telling them the whole history of the theater. He's like, "Oh, it's good to see them trying to revive that place. This place is a ghost town this time of year, because I guess it's more of a summer town." And you get the impression that this is kind of going toward winter because they're all wearing like warmer clothes and jackets and stuff like that. So they meet that guy, and he keeps popping up in and out of the movie. As he goes to see them at the theater, and he catches one of the girls topless, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He's like, "I'll turn around so you can put your top on," and he's like watching her in the mirror as she gets dressed, just being a total creeper. But
he's like, "I'll turn around," and he's just looking at the mirror through her.
Yeah, who seems pretty harmless, just like an old guy just an old guy looking for something to do, but he wants to like come watch the play. And at this point, the director kind of refuses. He's like, "Not today. We're not ready. We're not ready." He's like, "Okay." So he leaves. And then we get I guess this is technically our second kill, where the girl goes downside. She goes out for a walk and goes underneath the pier and gets kind of like, she sees this, I guess, homeless person on the bench. You don't really ever see their face. They just have like, gloves and stuff on, and like the black, like kind of the Giallo look going on realistically.
Yeah.
And she kind of gets choked and attacked, and, we don't see her for a little while. And there's also there's a weird scene in here. So they're all there. They practice the first night. They don't meet. They're missing one of the actresses, and she shows up like late the next day. And they're just hanging out in this room, and she's like, "Oh, her and her boyfriend or somebody, I don't know who the other guy was. I guess I'll make my entrance." And she just randomly comes out, like, I'm here. He's like, all right, cool. We start practice at 9 a.m. Go get some sleep. She's like, all right, bye. You're like, what? What? It was just like, it's a totally weird scene, but like the scene before she comes down when they're in the room is like, this is like a particular scene that's kind of the Pete Walker scene, right? Like they're sitting in this green room, dressing room or whatever, and there's a sign back there that says no smoking, and both characters are smoking cigarettes, right? And then if you look on the wall, there is a big black jacket with like a big like black hoodie on it, which was kind of similar to the outfit of the person that you just saw kill the girl down underneath the pier. So you see like the silhouette of the killer in quote hanging on the wall, and then you got like, oh, don't smoke here, like just little stuff like that. Like Pete puts stuff like that out through all his films, and the more of his films that you see, the more you notice those things. There's a lot of those in The Comeback, which is the one that I like that most people don't like. But anyways, that's like a little Pete Walker moment, that whole scene. But the film just kind of keeps going. You lose a few more people. Like I said, no real super violent, bloody kills. Most of them are cutaways, and then you just see the body. Like the guy gets his face kind of slashed up. They do eventually find the other girl, and she's like partially alive. But then the movie takes a little twist on us.
Yeah.
And it like all of a sudden it goes to like black and white. And you're like, what the fuck? Yeah, we'll spoil this, I guess. It doesn't really matter. So,
yeah.
But so it goes black and white, and this is supposedly a flashback 30 years before. And the main guy in the theater that is presenting whatever play they're doing, it's like a Shakespearean play, you know. It's all like all prestigious and whatnot. But he's the lead on stage, and he finds out that his girlfriend or wife is banging one of the other guys in the play, and he like basically loses his fucking mind and winds up tying them off into the basement. To leave them to die. And in the movie, when you go back to real time, you do actually get a glimpse. They do find those bodies. They're like all bones and shriveled up, mummified down in the basement, I guess, of the theater. But like in this flashback, you see all that happen, and you realize in the flashback, the biggest fucked up part is when he goes to like, he comes in with a knife to try to kill them, and they're both completely naked about to have sex while this, like, I don't know, 6-year-old girl is just watching, playing with her doll.
Yeah, that was strange.
Yeah, she's like standing over there just playing with her doll, and like, he walks in with a knife, and she freaks out, and he looks right at her, and she's just standing there watching naked people that were about to have sex. And he drags these people away. She's just standing there watching the whole time and puts the body like, okay, that was fucking weird. But toward the end, when it all comes unraveling, guess who that little girl was that random actress that popped up a day and a half late.
Turns right.
Turns out her father is the old man that they met at the tea shop.
Yep.
And he comes back and he tries to kill. He's like losing his mind, so he winds up going into the dressing room and trying to kill what he sees as his wife and the adulteress and the guy that she was with. And he winds up stabbing a bunch of mannequins while the other people from the play are watching him. And this is like this dude just kind of like losing his mind between flashbacks. It's a weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like he's like, I don't want these actresses are going to, they're perverts. They're going to repeat. It's like he was so like from 30 years ago from his wife fucking around on him and ties them back to back together and bricks them up and raises his little girl. But then he sees these actors and actresses showing up, and it just kind of just completely triggered a mental breakdown to where he just goes on a murdering spree in the theater. But you don't, it's very Giallo-esque because you don't know who it is until the end, obviously.
No, not at all. And you don't get a ton of shots of him killing. Like, you don't really have a clue.
Like, yeah, you get weird shit. Like, there's a really couple cool scenes. Like, he plays games with them. Like, a guy does find a decapitated body, and then, but, like, he goes, tears it, and it's gone, right? And then a chick winds up with a knife in her back. Again, the chick in the park bench. There's just, but like at the end, it's kind of it's like a whodunit, and it's an English film.
Someone said it was his like weird take on 10 Little Indians, and I kind of see that.
Yeah, it's a trip, man.
Yeah,
it's a trip. It's I enjoyed it, but anyways, go ahead. I'll go ahead.
It's definitely a Pete Walker film. And the ending is just kind of weird because the daughter just like walks off.
Yeah,
and the whole director of this like play, they never really meet the director. Like he's never there.
Somebody's setting it up. They're like, my casting agency said.
Their director is there, but like whoever's funding this like revival of this theater, they never see this person. No. And eventually at the end, that's when they all like are talking about it and saying they're going to leave. And that's when he comes in and starts stabbing the mannequins. Yeah. And then his daughter just like walks off at the end. Like, what?
I'm going to go find my father.
They just watch her walk away. I mean, technically we don't know. You don't really know if she did anything, realistically. Right. I mean, she's just there. So it was like, okay, that was the Pete Walker film.
So what did you give this one, sir?
So like I said, I like Pete Walker. I understand he's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but for me, this was a pretty solid Pete Walker film. I give it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
It's just very distinctively Pete Walker. And I know that's not, I mean, if you watch a few of his films, you'll totally get what I'm saying. But I think it's a good entry for Pete Walker. So
for sure, this is a movie that sold me in the trailer, right? So like, there's in the trailer itself, like from the beginning, right? It's like in 3 dimensions. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like, so that's a big sell, right? Big seller in 3 dimensions. And I think even at the beginning of the movie, like if you brought your special glasses, the colors will pop for you. You know, just weird things like that. And I'm more kind of just honing in on like how funny the trailer is because I first saw this trailer on the 42nd Street Forever collection, and it's funny. It's because they're like, "Who is this sex crazed killer that stalks the empty theater?" You know, and it just sells it, right? Is it Mike, the show's dedicated young producer? And then like, and even in the trailer, it introduces the cast, which is funny and in such a funny way because, and maybe we'll listen to the trailer. I mean, but it's like Tony, the extrovert, and then it introduces the main guy, Tony.
Yeah.
Or Carol, the wonton, whatever a wonton is, right? Yeah. I don't know what the meaning of a wonton was. And then back then in 1973, the English term of a wonton. And then it's like all Jane and Angela, the girlfriends. You know, the 2 girls that were maybe quote unquote lesbians.
Right. You're not going to sleep in that, are you?
And then it's like, or John, the weirdo, the guy who came in with the knife.
Yeah.
So it's all in all together, for me, it's definitely like kind of like an English whodunit, but pretty extreme in the sense that you get some pretty cool murders. It's giallo-esque. It's lots of nudity, but you definitely get the black glove killer,
and you get male nudity too.
Yeah, you do, and you get really hairy bushes. There you have it. At the very end, yeah, that was a big hairy one. Yeah, you do get male nudity. It's a trip. It's cool. It's different. I could see how it was a little bit before his time back then. Definitely pushed
absolutely. What was that? 70? I think that's 72.
Yes.
That's what I was saying. Like when he was making those films back then, people were like, what the fuck? Like he was in his own little realm.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, yeah, it was kind of before its time. I gave it 3 out of 5. I'm on par with you, man. Got a little bit bored, but I'm kind of a hit and miss.
It does get a little long in the tooth.
I'm not a big English movie horror fan.
I think if it was any longer, it would come down a notch, but it does run like 1 hour and 35 minutes, and I think that's fine. They probably could have cut 8 or so minutes out of it.
Right.
It would have been a little better, but it was
not
fine.
bad. Yeah. So let's go ahead and listen to the trailer for our next film.
Oh, Lord. Did you get the National Geographic one or the actual
one? We're going to listen to the trailer for The Prey from 1983, and we'll be right back.
Man, am I ready for tonight. First you play it real cool, and then flip it right to her.
Did you hear something? swear I saw it.
All right, guys, you listened to the Prey trailer from it's a slasher film from 1983. It's an American slasher film.
Is it though?
Is it though? Nothing original here. It follows a group of campers, right, into the Rocky Mountains who are stalked and murdered by somebody. We don't know.
Somebody.
Yeah, the movie starts off with a 1945 forest fire, but we just hear screaming people in the forest on fire. And then
that's it.
Yeah, and then we get people in the same forest camping a little bit later, and a couple. And then you get, kind of an older couple, I mean, back then everybody looked old, so we'll say they're in their late 30s.
Well, they actually say in this that they were middle-aged when they were talking about
middle-aged teachers. Yes.
Yeah, they're not the typical, which I could appreciate that actually at this time, the fact that they weren't trying to sell them as teenagers. They were full-grown adults and the men had very short shorts.
Yes, they weren't humpy. Well, what's really funny about this film, and we talk about the Xander Pick a Porno. This film was written by director Brown.
To be clear, on the last movie, I did not pick a porno. It was rated X because it was Pete Walker. It was a weird, bloody nudity. No actual sex took place.
So this was directed by Edwin Brown and written by Edwin Brown and Summer Brown, and him and his wife Summer, they work for Estes Productions, which is a studio specializing in adult films. So
was this an American? Was it American or Canadian?
American.
Okay,
it was American. There's even uncredited porn actors in this.
That would explain some of the acting, but
but obviously tried to capitalize on the camper slasher genre of the early 80s. So it's one of those things where, again, first of all, the transfer is really cool. Right?
Yeah.
It was a nice, clean transfer. We watched this on Arrow streaming. But, again, you get Burning Forest, then we get 30 years later or whatever. I don't know. And then you get this couple who are middle-aged teachers. They get stalked, hacked, and slashed in the woods. But in between that, you just get pictured, seriously, 30-second shots of fucking creepy crawlies every time you turn around. Like a tarantula, a millipede, a centipede, this, that. That's like, what the fuck?
I will say what is really cool, and I don't know if they cleaned up this audio when they got it on the streaming, but when that millipede goes across, you can hear all of its little legs hit the ground every time. Yeah, it sounded really fucking cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, wait, I watched Planet Earth.
Well, what I really like about, I knew it was because that centipede that you saw, that's a, they say this movie was filmed in the Rocky Mountains. That's centipede is, native to the Rocky Mountains because we have that centipede is the type of centipedes we have out here in New Mexico because Rocky Mountains run right in the middle of us. But, so it took about the movie came out in 83, but it seemed a little bit dated because it was actually filmed in 79. It took about 4 years to complete because I'm like, man, these people look really 70s. But anyways, you got a wildfire that ravages the north point of the Keene Wild National Forest in the Colorado Rocky Mountains. And it decimated a bunch of gypsies who lived in a secluded cave over there. 32 years later, an older couple, like we talked about, were cooking food in the campfire, and they getting watched by somebody in the shadows.
I love it when he goes, that's real good chow.
Yeah. And as, she hears the chick's doing the dishes, and she hears her husband screams, and she turns to find he's decapitated and his fucking blood squirting all over, which was kind of a cool little gag.
Yeah, and you see don't you see the burnt hands?
Yeah, you see the burnt hands. He was sharpening his axe, so that's a little foreboding there. And then she gets killed, but you don't really see like their death.
She just kind of screams and falls.
But then you get like a few weeks later.
She got a death curse.
Three teenage couples. You got a death curse. They're gonna go on a same place, hiking with their permits, and they speak with the forest ranger, who they all find really sexy and hot. It's just really nothing new here as far as that is concerned. You got your fucking. Each character is just annoying in their own way, and really, like I said, I keep on hammering this down. Like, really nothing new here. The couples, one guy tells a story around the campfire about the legends, and then you get bugs crawling again. Another montage of bugs crawling, and
then you get a snake eating a rat, and then the owl eating the snake. That was cool.
Yes, that was cool. Yeah, that was a good shot. But then you got your three couples, and I'm not putting out for you tonight, and then you get the ones.
So this whole particular scene at the campfire drove me batshit crazy, because like the way there's fucking three conversations happening over top of each other, and you can't really hear any of them very well. And you got like this crackling fire, and all you can hear is like, "Oh, I think I'm going to make a mayonnaise sandwich with some tomatoes tomorrow." And then other people are talking about having sex, and somebody's talking about like their Uncle Ricky or some shit. You're like, what is actually happening? There's no actual important dialogue.
A lot of filler.
And that scene goes on for like 6 minutes, and I'm like, what the literally, I'm getting no information of anything. And I was like, okay, somebody come out and kill these people.
Yeah, and it starts happening pretty quick, right?
Once it starts going.
Yeah, first couple, chick gets smothered in the blanket with the big monstrous hands. Guy gets his throat torn out, which is cool.
That one is. The throat is cool.
They're looking for him, can't find them. And then you kind of go to the main forest ranger, gets a call by the cops saying there's a missing couple. He sends out the forest ranger from the beginning they were talking to. And he was eating what my wife said, "Oh my God, that looks so good." And I was like, "What's that?" She goes, "You never had a cucumber and cream cheese sandwich?" And I was like, "No." Yeah. "Oh my God, I was like, "No, I've never had that before." "I know what I want you to buy at the grocery store this weekend." All right.
Alrighty.
Sounds good.
It is good, honestly. Oh. Some people will sprinkle, get regular cream cheese, sprinkle some dill on there, and then put some cucumbers, a little bit of salt.
So,
anyways.
You get some more foreboding. Lester tells Mark a story about witnessing about a gypsy boy wandering the woods after a 1948 fire, terrifically burned. This is the two forest rangers.
Yeah.
He's like, you need to go out there and see if you can find these people. And it starts rolling real quick towards the end, because he goes out there and tries to find them, and he finds the girl in the beginning who got smothered with the sleeping bag. It's a pretty cool scene of vultures eating her. And then one of the guys is rappelling down the rock, just having fun, right? Just doing what dudes do. The chicks are like kind of hiking themselves. And our killer walks up behind the guy holding the rope and just puts his head completely in a circle, and the other guy falls down the mountainside. So, we just dispel two guys really quick. And then the chicks find the guy who got his... And that was a pretty cool gag. We were laughing a little bit because his shoes were turned upside down, and his head... they just put his clothes on backwards and stuffed his pants.
Yeah.
Which was cool. But then you start kind of getting the whole chicks running, and I'm like, okay, here we go, the final girls. Nothing new here. And I said, and then one of the chicks gets taken out by a pretty cool, net trap or something. That it was really the only cool kill in my opinion. But the forest ranger catches up to the chick, the final girl, and the monster trying to kill her. And I call it a monster because they say he's horribly disfigured, but the dude looked like he was from another planet.
Right, yeah, his absolutely, because what it is the hands, right? Because his hands look like crazy long. Like, they just rubber, like, pieces. So he looks like got these weird alien hands, but they're supposed to just be melted. But the mitts are so big and long, they look very disproportionate to a normal human.
Yeah. And the actor who played him is the guy who plays Lurch in the Addams Family films from the 90s.
I can see that.
Yeah, and he looks like a monster straight out of a Don Dohler film. It doesn't really...
It does.
It doesn't look like a burnt dude that would be in the woods. I mean, this is not the Burning makeup from Tom Savini. We'll put it to you that way. This is like his hands look like they're made out of paper mache and oatmeal, dried oatmeal, like painted. It wasn't, the makeup was not good. Yeah, and then he just kind of got a weird ending because he kills the forest ranger. He chokes him out. And this final girl you think is going to die. And then next thing you have is you have a cave. It's now the winter. And you have a cave and you hear a little baby crying and another little baby's laughing.
Guess what that is?
He's bringing back the gypsy tribe. So, and then it ends. So, man, I saw the poster, never seen it before. You're like, fuck, I've never seen that before either. Boom, let's fucking cock the hammer on this one and fucking fire. So we shot away, and sometimes you miss. A solid 2 out of 5 on this one for me, maybe a little bit lower.
Oof, dude, it's 1.5. If I gave Flesh and Blood Show a 3, there's no fucking way I put this movie.
That's why I said I rethought it mid thought. I was like, maybe lower. I'm gonna go 1.5 as well. Yeah, it's not a good movie.
Like, literally, if you noticed while listening to us talk about it, all the things we really liked was the millipede and all the nature shots.
Yeah, this movie had a lot of filler. Instead, there was some nudity, but most of the filler that we saw in this movie was like literally nature shots of all that stuff. And the gypsies in this movie, the uncredited gypsies, were actually porn stars. John Leslie and another guy. But yeah, they were some porn production trying to cash in. But it wasn't too sleazy as far as like the sex was concerned. So yeah, 1.5, man. Not great.
No.
Yes. So yeah, there you have it, guys. We'll come back at you here pretty soon, hopefully within the next few weeks or so, with another episode, and maybe we'll knock it out of the park. But that's what we do. We just the lowest of the low.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. Love it.
Love it. Fine.
Yeah. So none of these actors really went on to do well. Steve Bond, I think, went on to be a soap actor.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Who knew?
A lot of soaps. A lot of jumping around in soap operas. And the whatchamacallit, what's his name? The park ranger. He actually was the original Captain Marvel on a one-season TV show from the 1970s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that those are the ones that the guy that directed that? Is that the same guy that directed the Red Brown stuff?
Quite possible.
It's like the same time era.
Yes. So, Captain Marvel, Saturday morning TV show, Shazam. That's right. He performed most of his stunts, and it's kind of weird, but
dope.
So, we'll check you guys on the flip. We appreciate you listening to the Cemetery Gates podcast and all the support.
Yeah. We'll see you soon, you crazy kids.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Cemetery Gates podcast, featuring Android Virus and Xander Kane. Follow us on Twitter @AndroidVirus, @Xander_Kane, and @CemeteryGates66.